want to become president?
For our next session, my motivator, I will make it as motivating as possible. Don't worry, I have a new playlist of motivational whatevers.
You fail. You fail to do your responsibility. Oof. Ground for expulsion. Charot, joke lang. Is there anything you want to announce before we formally start, or we just jump into it?
Start na.
Sabi ni. Akala ko talaga may ano ka. Diyos ko.
Is it something creepy again?
Walang na-prepare si Brian.
Yes.
Trying to find a way where I could present it, but at the same time see you guys. Because at least ako, may prepare ako. Di tulad ni Brian. You had one task. Alright. Ooh. Alrighty. Fine. Okay, guys. Welcome to what? I can't English anymore. What session is this? Is this our fourth or fifth session? Anyways, it's around our fourth or fifth session already. Oh my god, time flies so fast. So, hi guys, welcome to session 4 or 5-ish of debate training, and thank you so much for coming here. We know that session 5. Wow, it's 5 sessions already, so it's been a month. It's been more than a month already of you guys being here. So, thank you guys for sticking for so long already. And I personally know that a lot of you guys are quite busy this week. So yeah, as Brian mentioned, and something he's been extremely excited about since week one, is that today we'll be actually now delving into debate itself. So parliamentary debate in specific. So um, what's the mindset that I want you guys to have beginning this session? Medyo, I have to be very honest, it's a very heavy session. Medyo heavy yung session today. It's, um, there's a lot of new content. There's a lot of new words that might be extremely unfamiliar to a lot of you. So, as a general reminder, interrupt me anytime during when I'm talking if ever you have any question or clarification, because it's something I'm going to extremely expect this session because ayun, it's an extremely new topic. It's about debating, because in comparison to our previous sessions, we were just talking about ayun, communication, logic, medyo cutesy patootsy pa. So parang medyo gets pa natin. Pero this session, it's more about parliamentary debate, rules about debating, speaker roles, how to rebut, how to argue in a more advanced manner. So everything here is, it's everything that we're going to discuss here in this session is a combined effort of all of the past 4 sessions that we've had about argumentation, about communication, about logic. All of that is going to be used in this session. That's why we took an entire month to just lay down the basics, because I don't want you to enter into parliamentary debating without a good background of the basics of communication, of debating, of arguing, of logic, doing logical fallacies. So yeah, expect this session to be a bit mind-boggling, a bit confusing, super heavy siya. So ayun, I'm going to warn you guys already that it might be really hard. So if you have any questions, always feel free to interrupt me or like whenever you have any clarifications, go lang. Or kung may gusto kayong paulitin ulit from what I said, just unmute your mic and say, paki-repeat ulit because it's going to be really a super heavy session. Ayun. So, well, Brad already did some. Basta yung papaulitin ay hindi from kayo naman from the beginning if talagang medyo wala talaga, it's super hard talaga. Pero ayun, as much as possible, I'll try to ask from time to time, periodically kung okay ba siya or hindi. Anyways, so how are you? Like Brad asked this already, pero like give me a rating from 1 to 10. 1 being I'm so stressed right now, help me. And then 10 is I'm completely fine. If you hold this position, check every slide. It is. We're trying to take care of your mental health right now because it's the middle of the quarter already and malamang sa hindi. Stress na kayo. So give me a number from 1 to 10. 1 being I hate my life right now and 10 being I'm doing okay. I'm doing just fine.
5.
5. Uh, Chloe raised her hand.
5 magwa 1.
5, 2, may 2, 7. So, a lot of you guys are 5. So, like, medyo, like, middle of the, Sakura is like 2. So, ayun, medyo stressed na siya. 2 as well. Freshman pa lang kayo just, pero ayun, like, parang, well,
Si
understandable.
performance task, puro video pa.
I don't understand why you guys are asked to do a
Eh,
video.
Marky, wag kang shock na the grade 7 have to do so much. Kasi yung grade 7 ako, yung first quarter pa lang namin was we had to reenact the play. Tapos yung play yung sa ano, I think Maria Makiling. As in yung physical na play, may stage, may props, sa harap ng ano, covered court.
Oh wow. Like, of course, this is not me degrade, like, not me telling na, oh, like, parang grade 7 is not stressful, pero like, just comparing my experience lang with,
Kuya, how about your experience in Kisayos?
like,
Grade
what,
7.
like, well, we didn't have grade 7, we only had first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Grades, like, first year was easy. It was so easy. So, ayun, like, I guess times have changed because the curriculum changed. So, I wanted to ask because based based pa lang sa nakikita ko sa Kisay confessions, ang dami ng nasa stress. So, yun yung, that's how I get my information through Kisay confessions. Alright, so I guess everyone's in the middle of the pack, middle pack, so like manageable pack. So I guess like I'll try my best to make it as engaging and as fun as possible, even if it's a bit heavy. So some reminders. So number one, it's about whenever in case you guys aren't able to attend training. That's why I also wanted to emphasize mental health because I've been getting and receiving a lot of messages of people telling me that they can't attend training, which is fine. I extremely appreciate when you guys message me that you can't come to training. It just shows that you guys are like you want to make sure that I'm updated on as to where your whereabouts and stuff like that. But moving forward, I want you guys to avoid messaging me, Brian, or the group chat anymore. Not because I don't want to know if you are not able to go to training or not, but because I want to cultivate this culture where you don't need to explain yourself if you need a break. Like like I don't want you guys to prove to me that you have a reason as to why you need a break. Like having a mental health break or not being in the mood to train are equally valid reasons to not come. So parang ayun, like moving forward, like I just want you to know that every like me, Brian, and everyone like organization wants to prioritize your mental health. So you don't need to individually message me or reason like type out a super complicated reason why you can't come. Like, we would understand it with utmost sympathy and empathy. So ayun, like for a more healthier for organization culture, you don't have to individually message us if you can't come to training because we understand. We're all students here. We've been through that. So ayun. Uh, uh, yeah, of course. Laziness is not good, pero ayun, like try your best to come to each session all the time. If if you're Gino man. Number two, I've been still receiving requests from different people saying that if they wanted na may makakilala pa silang may mga classmates who are still interested of joining Kisay Lapsop. So they're more than welcome to join. So just message me or Brian if ever there's anyone who wants to join. And then after you message me or Brian, add them to the Facebook group, the group chat, and then have them sign the registration form that you signed when you entered the organization. So yeah. Thirdly, next week's training, October 30, from 2 to 4, will be our first debate round. Something Ryle, again, has been super excited about. So since it's our first debate round, I highly encourage everyone to attend and participate or observe next training. Like I feel like it's extremely crucial to have that first experience of what a debate round looks like. So yeah, like I feel like next week is extremely important to attend to. But of course, it's not required, but it's highly encouraged. But lastly, I guess this is actually the most important reminder that I have for today. Is that on the same day, according to the group chat, everyone is in a consensus that they want to throw a Halloween party from 7 p.m. onwards. So, okay, so I'm gonna start a poll already. Do we need to have costumes for October 30, 7 p.m.? Raise your hands if you think that we should have costumes. Well, yeah, no, unless you want to. No one? No one wants to do costumes? Or like even just like a background change or something like that.
The background thing.
Yeah, background
The
change.
background's better.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Better.
super ma-effort. You can just change your background and tada, okay na yun. So yun, we'll be throwing a Halloween party from 7 p.m. onwards.
This is the example of a good background. Perfect.
That's subjective, but sure, Brian. Sure. So yun. Uh, okay, so just like a reminder that people organize the Halloween party, so if you can come, come. If you can't, that's completely fine.
Basta anything scary, no, Kuya Marky.
Di naman, I'm scared. Okay, like don't
I'll
not
put
too scared.
Kisay on my background.
Oh, okay. Maglagay kayo ng 81, 84, yun yung background. Yeah. Alright. Alrighty. Any questions with regards to org matters, or do they want to raise anything? Are they having a hard time with like um mamaya na Brian, huwag kang excited. Questions na muna about organization. No one? One? Alright. So since Brian didn't prepare an icebreaker, I decided to make my own icebreaker. So I'm going to play with you guys. Yes, Jid, because it's true. So for today's icebreaker, it's called turn on or turn off. So this is a okay. This is not NSFW, I think. If I remember correctly. It's not NSFW. It's completely PG-13. I'm afraid of live circuits. So anyways, so the game mechanics is simple. The game starts with everyone's cameras turned off, and I will be flashing statements on the screen. If the statement is true, turn on your camera. If the statement is false, turn off your camera. Does everyone understand that? Turn on your camera or raise your hand, yeah, in case hindi kaya ng data ninyo yung pag-turn on ng camera niyo. Raising your hand will be completely fine, but also as well if you're uncomfortable showing your face, that's also fine. So either if the statement is true, turn on your camera or raise your hand. And if the statement is false, just keep your camera off. Okay? Everyone good? If everyone is good, type Braille in chat. Nice. Wow, complete name, James. Sige. Alrighty. Our first statement is... Ready na ba? Ayun, ready na. Ready na.
I think so.
Ready na. What ulit? So,
Yes.
our first statement. Round 1, masaya mag-aral sa Pisay.
Minsan-minsan.
Apat yung nagsabi, oo. Masaya na mag-aral sa Pisay. Wow! Sana all. sana all nag-enjoy. Sige. Sige. My other, Brel Cedric. Bakit masaya mag-aral sa Pisay? Or,
Marami ka pong matutunan
Kaya yung
kahit
mga teachers. Teachers, good teachers.
hindi ikaw, Brel Galindo, yung isang Brel, Diyos ko, dalawa yung Brel dito.
Use the, lang, second name, Cedric. Hi, Cedric.
Sige.
hello po, sir.
Sige. How about, you, Kirsten. Bakit masaya mag-aral sa Pisay?
Ano po? Debs audio. Well, there are times it's fun to be at Gisay. I don't know. If you have a good teacher, it's fun.
Kirsten, wag mo i-post si Kuya Marky. He is not that old. But he
Ano
is old.
I'm not that narcissistic, Brian. Sige. Angeli, you say masaya mag-aral sa Kisay. Bakit? Bakit masaya? Sana all masaya mag-aral sa Kisay. Char.
Hello po, Kuya Max. Hello.
Hello. Masaya mag-cramming. Char. Adrenaline rush. Nakatuwa kayo. Nakatuwa si Kirsten. Sabi niya, DevSoc daw yung papasaya sa Kisay. I'm kidding. Anyways. Hi, Asia. So, Asia, our game is turn on or turn off. So, the game is, pag true yung statement, i-turn on mo yung camera or mag-raise ka ng hand. Pag false yung statement, just keep your camera off. Yun na. Sige, tapos na kami sa round 1. Siya mag-aral sa Kisay. Sige, round 2 na. Round 2. Open your camera or raise your hand pag sa tingin ninyo gwapo or maganda kayo. Ba yan? Ba't ang onte? Have some self-confidence, Sean. Sige. Let's go with Sean. Sige. Why do you think gwapo ka?
Because my parents say so.
Tama. Tama naman yung parents mo. Sige. Ikaw, Alec. Why do you think gwapo / maganda ka?
Everybody is just born with it.
True. Yung mga hindi nag-raise ng kamay, ba't sa tingin nyo hindi kayo maganda? Sino nagsasabing hindi kayo maganda?
Pessimist.
Average lang.
Carry na. Ano ba? Kapag tsatsagaan. Ito ba kayo? Kala ko lahat kayo open ng camera. Yun nga. Sige. Dapat next time lahat kayo mag-open na ng camera pag tinanong mo ito. Alright, round 3. Naka-experience na kayo ng heartbreak. Open your camera or raise your hand pag naka-experience na kayo ng heartbreak. Sabi ko na nga ba si Kyle mag-raise ko ng hand.
May pinagdaanan.
Sige, Kyle. Ano pinagdaanan mo? Ano pinagdaanan mo at heartbroken ka?
Like, is it the, like the crushy or ano?
Kahit anong klase ng heartbreak. Sige,
Marky is like
crush.
heartbreak because of
Ay, chat na lang.
Can I share? I used to not be
Sige.
I had the chance to go to a BTS concert, but I wasn't a BTS fan at the time and thought they were overrated. So I thought, it's gonna be too much trouble. And
Oh,
then I'm a big
no.
BTS fan, and like, that's the dumbest decision I made.
Heartbroken. Much sad, much sad. Asia, nag-open ka ng camera mo. Ba't ka na heartbroken? Ano yung pinagka-heart,
Heartbroken din, failing math. Failing math.
Feeling man. Same, same. Kalat. Okay, random kwento, pero nung first year, I got my first failure in math and algebra. Sabi ko kanina, ang dali ng first year. Liar. Pero yun pala, the reason why I was failing math was because I didn't know that I needed eyeglasses back then. So I was in front of the classroom already. But I still couldn't see what's on the board. So until my earth science teacher just told me, Marky, I think you need glasses already. And so yeah, dun ko nalaman na, it's not normal to not see what's on front of the board when you're literally in front of the classroom already. Yung tipong nasa front row ka na, nasa tapat mo na yung teacher and everything. So ayun, random kwento. Kaya ayun. Zane, ikaw, na-heartbroken ka. Bakit?
Hindi sumama si Irina sa line-up ng Girls Planet 999.
Paki-explain sa mga non-K-pop people dito.
Planet.
Kasi nagkaroon na ng final results yung Girls Planet 999 and hindi nasama si Irina. I think she's 14th lang. Kasi it's a survival program wherein trainees compete for 9 places to debut. Unfortunately, yung first pick ko, she wasn't able to join the first 9. So she was ranked 14th ata and it was sad.
I see. Commiserations to whoever that was. And Nicole, condolences. I'm so sorry to hear.
Ikaw, Kuya Marky, did you?
Ay, ako yung game master dito.
Alam takas.
Oo, heartbroken na ako with my 2 exes.
Ako once.
Especially my first ex. First ex was horrible because he broke up with me, and then he told me that the reason why I only decided to date you was because I thought you were cute, but the reality is I think that you're pretentious, you think that you know a lot, and you always cause drama. And his definition of causing drama was because I was addressing problems in the relationship, like being openly communicating, ganon. He thought that it was drama, ganon. So yun, heartbroken in that regard, never again. Anyways, it's not about me, it's about you guys. So question number 4. Raise your hand or open your camera if ever sa buhay ninyo nakikibasa kayo sa cellphone ng iba habang nagko-commute kayo. Kayo dyan. Sino?
Nakinood.
Oo, nakikinood. Yung
Anime.
yung tipong ay,
Sa
Naruto.
train.
Yan, Naruto. Sige, sino pa? Si Kyle. Si Sean. Si Asia. Ano yung Asia? Ano? Sino yung ano? Ano yung nakita mo? Ano nakita mo sa katabi mo?
Ano kuya? Ah, ano kapag like bored sila tapos nanonood ganun?
Oo, di ba? Yung
Hoy!
nagki-Candy Crush sila, tapos i-judge mo sila. Ay, mali-mali. Sige. Anyways, thanks guys.
Glimpse lang naman.
Oo. Di naman fully committed, pero titingin-tingin lang. Sige, okay. You may now close your mic, close your cameras for our next question. Round 5. Raise your hand kung nagtulog-tulugan na kayo para hindi mautusan ng nanay or tatay ninyo. Ay, aba, ang dami! Mga mami, mga daddy, ang dami! Hoy, ang dami ninyo!
Guilty app.
Guilty, ang dami.
Once, pero di gumana.
Sige, sinong kakwento dito? Si, Alexis, ikaw. Ano nangyari? Nahuli ka ba? Nahuli ka ba? Gumana ba? Gumana ba? Or, buti naman it worked. Kawawa naman you if you didn't. Sige, ikaw, Francesca, kamusta naman? Gumana din ba?
Hindi po gumana.
The booking.
Sinisigawan ako. Ginigising ako.
Same.
Ikaw, Sean. Sige, ikaw.
I've done so multiple times, and it worked sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes. 50% success rate. Sige.
Yeah.
Ikaw, Jalisha, how about you? Kamusta naman? Kamusta naman ang tutulog-tulugan mo? Tama ba, Jalisha? Or maybe, am I butchering your name? Or maybe you can just message and chat sakaling you can unmute your mic. Just completely fine. Anyways, thank you guys. Ngayon alam ko na kung anong pinagagawa ninyo. Anyways, next round. Ilang rounds ba ito? 7 or 8 ata. Sige. Round 6. Raise your hand or open your screen pag sabi mo sa kasama mo na malapit ka na pero paalis ka pa lang talaga ng bahay. Aba! Ang dami! Award! Sige. Ikaw Chloe, kamusta? Ba't sabi mo malapit ka na pero paalis ka pa lang?
It was more of kasi ang tagal ng parents ko, so kaya po ka na late.
Sige. Sige, carry na yon. Yung magulang mo pala yung may problem. Ikaw, Sakura, kamusta? Ba't sabi mo malapit na pero paalis ka pa lang? Nanimot ko. Cute pa. Nakakaitan ka. Sige. Cute ninyo. Sige. 8 rounds ata to. Naalala ko na yung number 8. Sige, thank you guys. Number 7. Ay, ito. Feeling ko maraming tataas ng kamay. Raise your hand. Pag sabi mo, okay lang, pero hindi talaga. Okay lang. Okay lang ako. Oo, okay lang. Hindi ako nasaktan. Sino? Ayan, Brad.
Sa GC.
Brad, gusto ko marinig. Gusto ko marinig yung yan. Brad, bakit?
Sinong Brad po?
Cedric, sige. You.
Sinabi ko po okay lang dahil di po ako gutom, pero gutom talaga ako.
Cute! Kumain ka na lang din. Sige. Sinigo, ikaw. Ano yung okay lang, pero hindi talaga.
Face-to-face pa po nun, tapos pagdating ko sa house after school, naubusan namin pagkain.
Ang dami, sino dito na nabiktima ng pagkain, yung okay lang daw. Dami sa inyo nabiktima ng pagkain, Sino? Sino pa? Sino pa ba dito? James, ikaw, ba't nasabi mo okay lang, pero hindi talaga?
Ako?
Hindi, iba. Oo, ikaw, James. Bakit, bakit, yung
Minsan
okay?
yung luto, okay lang sasabihin ko, pero hindi talaga siya.
Ang dami niyong hinaing sa pagkain, Ang cute ninyo, Diyos ko. Sino pa? Si Julian Andre, ikaw, ba't napasabi ka na okay lang, pero hindi talaga. Ganyan. Same po na. Lahat kayo, puro pagkain. Ang cute. Inibusan ng Jollibee. Tama, ipaglaban mo, yung karapatan mo nung karoon ng Jollibee. Anyway, salamat. Okay, our last round.
Kuya, SKL yung Christmas party, tapos na-late lang ako, tapos naubusan ako ng food. Sabi ko, okay lang.
Hala, bakit?
Nagmamadali silang kumain. Then Christmas party yun. Hindi ako naabutan ng pagkain. Hindi ako nag-breakfast.
Sad. Ang sad naman, Christmas party, naubusan ka ng pagkain. How unfortunate. Oo nga, okay lang. Hindi ako na-hurt. Hindi ako nasaktan. Hindi naman ako na-offend. Char. Ay, nakita niyo na tayo namin. Last question. Ito, magkakabukingan na. Ako, mag-raise kayo ng hand.
Ba't ako lang?
May crush kayo dito sa DevSoc. Naku, Kyle, ha? O hindi to tayo...
She knows.
Hindi pa...
She knows.
Hindi pa to face-to-face, ha?
Sus.
Hindi pa to face-to-face.
1 month may I love you, honey.
Uy,
1 month
ay,
pa
Brile,
lang.
ha?
Kaya nga.
Mamaya magka-partner kayo sa debate. So, Kyle, ha? Diyos ko, ha?
Ang sama nyo. Ayoko na sa inyo.
Anyways, I guess that's the last of our...
Hindi ko siya classmate. Yan lang.
Pero natatanungin kung may crush kayo sa class ninyo. So, magkakaubusan tayo ng oras. Mag-chikahan. Anyways, round 8 was weird. It's weird for you, Brad, because you're an aromantic alien who doesn't understand the concept of love. I'm not. You are. Binuli ka. Anyway, love you, Brad. Anyways, so, okay, thank you guys for entertaining me for that very random icebreaker. It's really just one of my ways to make sure that you guys are enjoying sessions with them. So, kahit pa paano. Anyways, so now we're gonna talk about debating, parliamentary debating specifically. And so, a lot of, we'll be having, medyo magiging recap siya of our first session together, of our first orientation. If you guys were there during orientation week, when Brian and other members of Kisai, Debstock, like Zyrek and Kristen, were there during the debate, the demo debate. So, we gave a quick introduction of what debating was. So today it's going to be more in depth and more explained. So it's more nuanced and it's more we'll take it step by step. So yeah. So what is it better if I full screen it just in case or kita naman? Let me. I'm just gonna full screen it, and if ever there's any questions, just unmute me because you really wouldn't see me uh, because it's in a different window. Ay, may pa-animation siya. I love Canva. Anyway, so what's debating? So let's first start with a quote that UP Debate Society presented to us during our own first day of orientation. It is better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it. Does anyone in the group chat want to explain the phrase? Okay, Brian. Sige, go ahead.
Hey, yung interpretation ko dyan is that yung ano, yung understanding other people's views of whatever thing you're settling ay more important than just taking one person's opinion or one group's opinion tapos parroting that as the opinion of the whole group.
Right, right. So it's important to debate questions just to get a lot of perspectives from different people because there is not a single truth, and we don't want to have a single group to monopolize an entire discussion. Good. Anyone else have different interpretations or different understandings about the code? Like anything, like there's no right or wrong answers with interpreting this code. Anyone? Anyone want to try? Okay, Kyle, go.
Like for me kasi, like it is better to debate a question without settling it. Like on the pineapple and pizza. We did it with my classmates and we did not settle on one thing. So it's better to not settling a question than not debating it. Like, kasi you're going to settle a question, then you're not even giving your ideas or thoughts on
Mhm.
it. That may or may not change the person's thinking or the point of view from that person.
Right, right. That's correct. That important. It's very important to debate because it shows that some issues are disagreed upon. There's no consensus, and what happens when there's no consensus about an issue? You want to make sure that everyone gets the chance to talk about whatever they feel, whatever their opinion is. And it's better to do that than to just assume that everyone agrees that pineapples belong to pizza or pineapples don't belong to pizza. That knowing that people disagree is important than assuming that everyone agrees over something. All right, but anyone else? Anyone else wants to try? All right, Zayn, go ahead.
I think it's better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it. Kasi it allows a healthy discussion kasi there are times that we may disagree, but we are afraid to express our opinions just because we're a minority or we do not have the same opinions as the majority. And I think that expressing our opinions, even if we're very limited in number, is appreciated kasi it will bring new thoughts to the table. It will cause compromisation if okay lang sa lahat.
Mhm. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, that's correct. The reason why it's very important to assume that not everything is true because you can always learn something new. You can always learn something more. You can always find and synthesize new thoughts, new ideas, new perspectives about issues by debating and talking about it with other people. And the reason why I wanted to start with this quote is that a lot of the things that we'll be debating about in the future, in the next few weeks, in the next few days, in the next few months, years, a lot of these issues will not have any clear answer. So I want you guys already to have this mindset that the reason why we're debating these things is that because there's no definite answer yet. Remember how we talked about the idea of uh, when we talked about logic. We talked about logic that logic is about the study of reasoning based on truth that depends on meaning. But because meaning is different from person to person, truth is fragile. Truth is something that you cannot capture very neatly. The truth is messy. It's not something you can clear cut, delineate, box it in a category, and box it into a perfect response. The truth is messy. It's ambiguous. It's um, it's hard to understand in its entire complexity. So that's why it's important to question things and not settle on a particular definition or a particular answer, because maybe you might be missing out on new ideas, new perspectives. If you're going to just settle on something and not deciding to question it. The danger of it is over preferentializing, or like over preferring a certain answer, or over preferring a certain perspective. Like you miss out on a lot of rich discussions and rich perspectives that you could have missed. So, yeah. So in essence, the first slide pa lang, I want you guys to drill already in your heads that the things that we talk about, the things that we debate about, are up for debate because there's no clear right or wrong. There's no clear answer to the debates that we're debating about. So we mentioned this multiple times already, but debate is both a discussion and a game. And what we mean by debate being a discussion is that debate is enriching. Debate is about discourse. It's about expanding our current field of knowledge and our current understanding of social issues by talking and conversing with people in a friendly and respectful dialogue. So that's how people usually understand debating. It's about discussion. It's about forwarding different ideas. It's about a consensus of ideas, or whether or not people disagree with ideas. So yeah, people debate because there's a lot of gray zone when it comes. There's a huge gray area between um, agreeing something or to disagreeing something. For example, like as Kyle mentioned, agreeing whether or not pineapples deserve to be on pizza or pineapples don't deserve to be on pizza. Or when we talk about more serious topics like should we legalize abortion, should we not legalize abortion, or um, should we allow political candidates to switch should we allow political candidates to switch parties? Should they not switch parties? Should we allow um, should we allow what the, I'm starting thinking having mental block of other social issues. Mm, should we allow students to have to not follow a strict dress code? Should we still enforce a strict dress code? Um, uh, should we lessen the load of students in terms of their online learning, or should we not? Or should we fund education more, or should we focus more on making sure that the current systems already in place are efficient? So there's a lot of issues. So debating is about discussion and always about enriching what we already know about a particular topic. But the debating we're talking about here in TEDSOC is a bit different because we also define debate as a game. And we define it as a game because it has certain rules and because at the end of the day, someone wins and someone loses. So we know that in a debate, there is the affirmative side, the side that agrees with the motion or the proposal, and the negative side or opposition who disagrees with the motion. So for a debate that legalizes abortion, there would be a side that defends abortion as a right, and there will be a side that rejects the idea that abortion should be a right. Or, for example, defending that people should go vegan. There would be a side that defends veganism, and then there will be another side that will say that they reject veganism. So, at the end of the day, at the end of every debate, there will always be a side that wins and a side that loses. So if affirmative wins, then it means that negative loses. If negative or opposition wins, it means that government or affirmative loses. So it doesn't work that both government and opposition win the debate or both government and opposition lose the debate. It's always someone wins, someone loses, and that's why it's a game. And another reason why it's a game is because it has rules. It has strict rules in order to make sure that we could be able to judge the flow of the debate fairly and with uh, uh, it's important to have rules so that there are standards to know uh, how a team exactly wins. Because if there aren't any rules to judge how debate teams win, then it all relies on personal opinions of who won or who didn't. So that's why there are rules set in place in competitive debating, because it gives a formal framework as to as to judge as to how a debate should be judged. Is a team more persuasive? Did the team provide more evidence? Did the team work strategically as a team, or did they work as three different speakers that didn't have a complete strategy that made sense? Or were they logical but their organization and their structure while they were talking was messy? So that's why these standards are put in place in order to make sure that we could judge the quality of a debate in a debate. So why do we debate? So now I'm going to ask you guys, why are you still here? For you guys, why are you still here in debate society? I'm going to ask you the big questions now. Why, after 5 weeks, are you still here? Kirsten, go.
I mean, I've always found it fun to argue, and I like public speaking quite a bit. But another thing I like about Debate Club, I feel like it's made me more open-minded and think about things from other perspectives. And I feel like I learned quite a bit from DebSoc as well. So yeah.
Great. Great. Kyle? Sige, you. As a newcomer.
Me? Okay.
Hindi, may bagbang kayo dyan. Sige, ikaw.
Sige. It's fun. I wasn't expecting to stay this long, but yeah, I'm here na. Like, I feel comfortable around you people, and kahit hindi ko masyado nagigets, natututo ako, hindi ko alam why, pero natututo ko. Tapos yun, I don't know, it's just a feeling of happiness around you people.
Oh, that's incredibly sweet. Thank you. Thank you for putting your trust, and thank you for also being a very active and very open member. I definitely enjoy you guys, like you being here, and everyone here who's always super G and super open to be silly, to talk about these silly things, because debate shouldn't always be serious. Like it's genuinely like when I told you guys, this is a safe space for everyone to express what they think about and what they feel. So anyone else, it doesn't have to be super like serious that I came to debate because I want to be a great public speaker, or like you could come here to be that because I want to learn something, or like maybe like something to explore. So, yeah. Angela, you, why are you still here in Damsel?
I think I think debate in general is a key foundation in our society nowadays. I think it's what holds our society together and at the same time brings it apart. So in a club like this, if myself and other people um, have the actual opportunity to learn how to debate properly, I think that in this way, in if people learn how to debate properly, I think that our society could come together and not be that toxic anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely a beautiful answer. That definitely the reason why I keep coming back to debate society to train is because I definitely want to help more people to be able to talk about these issues with more comfort, with more conviction, and in a way that's respectful. Because that's something that we're gradually not seeing anymore, especially when you see social media doing cancel culture or being incredibly toxic, where the point of a lot of people is to prove that they're right, not to listen to another side or not to perhaps entertain that maybe there are valid points at another side or like it's always when we think about debating, it's always us versus them. When in fact it's always about well, it should be the debaters in the room versus a social problem. It's not always about us versus them. It's not about people going against other people. It should be about people collectively coming together to solve and talk about the social issue from different perspectives and different standpoints. And unfortunately, that's something that's a bit missing right now in a lot with a lot of people in society that they just want to argue. They don't want to listen. So, yeah. Anyone else who wants to give their own personal reason why they want to debate? You, Brian.
First, of course, I'm still here kasi I'm the president. Anyway, yung main reason I stuck around for this long is still kasi even before debating, the way I spoke publicly was always it was always to teach people, to make them understand a specific thing I'm talking about. Tapos, whenever nagkaroon ng project where I had to speak publicly about something, I always deliberately pick the most obscure or the weirdest topic possible so that other people can be introduced to it, tapos can gain a new perspective on it. Tapos, when I entered Kisai, tapos I learned that, oh, meron palang debate club. Yung first reaction ko was I should join kasi it fit into the way na I spoke publicly tapos it fit my views, my objectives. I speak publicly because I want other people to understand and to learn even about the most obscure of things. I knew debate could help. Of course, yung grade 7 ako, debate did absolutely nothing. Pero even when I was in grade 8, I still had the hope na maybe something's changed. Maybe I could put a bit more sacrifice, a bit more time. We could do something and yeah, I did something.
Oh, thank you, Brian. It was honestly great. I do appreciate like the work you put into debate society and seeing you grow, especially since the first time I saw you as a freshman was quite like of course it's a weird feeling for a coach or for a teacher to see someone grow like with their skills and stuff, and it's just this weird magical feeling of like oh they're I don't know. It's this unexplainable feeling that um, you're part of their journey as well. And I'm honestly grateful for everyone who's like stuck all the way. And I know that like especially because debate training could be definitely hard. Like it's like it doesn't seem that way right now because medyo fun pa siya. Pero like down the line, it will get a bit like tiring. It will get a bit like obscure, very complicated, especially when we're going to talk about very specialized topics about like politics, international relations, economy, things that may be super like hyper convoluted and not necessarily something you learn every day, like learn in the classroom. But that's also why it's so important. It's because you don't get this kind of training anywhere else in Kisai. Like that's the reason why a lot of the debate society members continue to stay. It's because like this is a unique opportunity for a lot of people to like explore obscure references and obscure topics. You don't come into uh, a video call expecting Brian to play Le Internationale. It's like on Spotify all the time. So or talking about communism. So it's like we're a bunch of weirdos, we're freaks, in the in the best sense of the word. We're geeks, nerds, and in the best way possible because we explore our all of our interests, and we're able to talk about these interests in a safe space, in a safe manner that is extremely respectful to everyone. Right? Um, anyone else who wants to share? No. Go there. Sige. You.
Um, I guess the reason why I returned to debating kasi I missed it. Kasi nung 10th grade ako, I quitted debate society because I needed to focus more on ACADS and myself. And when I got used to my situation now, when I improved my grades, I suddenly thought of debating kasi I missed it. It was a fun and learning experience. And I remember din ng grade 9 when I was losing interest in debating, I remembered what Ate Jean told me that debating can be an avenue to express and to vocalize opinions and as well as to be the voice of the people who's unheard. So that's my primary reason why I debate.
Thank you, Zayn. I'm definitely sure that Jean will be super like stoked to hear that because yeah, it's true. Like debating is here to amplify the unheard voices, and that's because there is no such thing as the voiceless. There's really no like in debate society we destroy this notion that people are voiceless. They are not voiceless. They are deliberately unheard. These are voices that are that have been selectively not listened to. And this is why debating is important. It provides an avenue for people to amplify voices that have been routinely silenced, who have been oppressed, bullied, marginalized. So this becomes an avenue for those who are disempowered to feel empowered in one way or another. So yeah, thank you for that beautiful answers. Anyone else before we go on debating? Going once, twice, thrice. Okay. Okay, I guess since I asked you guys why you guys debated, I think it's pretty fair to answer why I still continue to debate. And Jesus Christ, this person's old already. He's 24. Well, about to be 24 this Tuesday. But like, um, why is he still debating? So, well, number one, it's a good reminder that you're not always right all of the time. It's an exercise of humility and empathy. That's why I want, if there's anything that I can teach you guys in debate society, is that debate society is about empathizing. It's about being able to talk about issues with such passion, with such conviction, because you know that these are real and true experiences by real people. And um, when you talk about people, it's definitely okay to be wrong, like to be wrong and to be corrected. It's okay to not be always correct and right all of the time. Uh, because because before, like you would think before entering that talk, you would think that you know a lot of things, or like you were quite sure for a lot of things. But then there will be moments in your life where you will be questioning those things. You will be questioning the things that you've learned, and and debating teaches you that it's okay to have that moment or to have that process of trying to piece by piece unlearn those things. It's okay to unlearn. It's okay to change. Um, it's okay to um, acknowledge mistakes because that's where growth comes in. Growth comes in when you acknowledge that you've made a mistake in the first place. If you don't acknowledge your mistakes, you're not growing, and when you're not growing, you are like you are running farther and farther away from your purpose in life. Yeah, like, I feel like it's a good exercise of humility and empathy. And number two, like as I mentioned, it's debating is equal parts talking and listening. Listening is such an important skill for people to. Number three is because I still find myself nervous and anxious all the time, and this is still true. Like you guys will still find me stammer and like stutter from time to time, which is like normal for everyone. People stutter and people stammer all the time. People will not be sure what to say next. The reason why I sound convincing and why I sound very like it feels like I have everything prepared already in mind is that because I practiced this over and over again. Like I already like I mentioned I'm not shy mentioning it over and over again. That when I started that song, I really was super shy. I really was super this anxious ball of nerves who didn't want to talk to anyone. Hindi kahit mag-abot ng ng bayad sa jeep, I wouldn't say bayad po. I would just give it to the next person and hope that like someone makes pasa it to the driver because I really wouldn't talk. I don't I hate talking. I hated talking to anyone. And like that's why it's okay, like it's still okay right now if you feel like you still have nerves or you still feel anxious talking. I don't expect it to be a month long process, like a month long, like after 5 weeks of us already doing training that you have some sense of confidence. I don't expect that because your journey will look different from everyone else's. And one of the best stories I have debating is someone who actually stopped debating after 2 years of being under my wing. And she told me that she was still grateful even though she stopped debating because even though she may not have been like the best oral speaker, the best person who knows international relations, Philippine politics, environment, social movements, or whatnot, she told me that at the end of the day, she became more confident about herself, more confident about her feelings, her emotions, saying what she wants to say. And that to me is much more important, is extremely already like a win for me. It's a win to know that you're changing and you're improving yourself day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. Your best will look different every day. So don't beat yourself if you feel like you're not performing to your best all the time. Because if you're performing at your best all the time, then what does it mean to be at your best? It's okay to stumble sometimes. It's okay to feel nervous or anxious. It's a lifetime process. So see through it. See through that process. Number four is that it's an avenue to explore your own identity of who you are and what you stand for. I feel like everyone managed to explain that quite concretely already. When debating helps you to liberate yourself. A lot of people in the debating community are from marginalized sectors, women, LGBTQIA, indigenous people. So a lot of these people get the adrenaline rush in debating because they feel like the stage belongs to them. It's a space where they are welcome to share what their opinions are, what their ideas are. And that's why debating is so empowering. It's such a powerful tool for everyone. Because it's like armor. It gives you enough confidence to not only face an audience but face yourself, face your own personal issues. Sobrang madrama siya. Sobrang madrama yung why do I still debate? Pero I feel like it's very important. Alright. So what do we debate about then? We debate motions. The motions are statements or topics under dispute in a debate, normally given as a statement that teams must either propose or oppose. So I guess everyone already has an idea of what a motion is. So a motion is the thing that we're debating about. It's whether or not we should propose this motion or should we oppose this motion. Right? Someone asked the question. Like this house regrets debating. So with that motion, someone has to defend that they do regret debating, and the other side will oppose it by saying, no, we do not regret debating. So yes, tama ka dyan. Hold on. So the reason why, okay, so content background, why do we call it parliamentary debate in the first place? The reason why we call it parliamentary debate is because these debate formats were taken from parliaments or houses or Congress. So yun, so like similar procedures as the House of Representatives, the Senate, Parliament in Europe. That's why the wording of the motions is this house would or this house believes that, because we're taking inspiration with how different parliaments or houses or congresses in different countries in the world would deliberate or debate about their national policies or legislations. So whenever they're going to for example, pass a bill to increase the budget in agriculture. There will be a side that will agree to increase the budget for agriculture, and then there will be another side that will reject that proposal. So that's why. So to remove the confusion, that's why the wording of our motions is parating this house would. Yeah. So that's the quick history lesson as to why. So yeah, the examples of motions would be this house would ban smoking in public spaces. This house would require a certain number of humanities units in all STEM courses. This house believes that cancel culture has done more harm than good. Or this house regrets current diplomatic efforts between the Philippine government and the People's Republic of China. So yeah, so the thing about motions is that when we debate about them, there will be always a side that agrees with the motion and the side that opposes the motion. So for this first motion on this house would ban smoking, government would defend why we should ban smoking. And then opposition would defend why we should not ban smoking. For motion two, uh, for motion three, for example, when this house believes that cancel culture has done more harm than good, affirmative or government would argue that yes, cancel culture has indeed done more harm than good, and then will defend that cancel culture has done actually more good than harm. So yeah. So very straightforward. So motions are the topics of the debate. Very straightforward. Okay, so some rules in debate, and this is just like the first of very few basic rules in debating first, because we'll be adding more and more rules as sessions pass by. So we're just taking it one step at a time with that. So in terms of debate topics or motions, they're given on the spot unless told otherwise. So the debate motion is not given a day in advance or a week in advance for you to do research on something. You're going to debate it on the spot unless it was mentioned that you'll be given time to prepare for debates on for these topics or for these debate motions. So this is why it's important to be well read when it comes to debating, because you're expected to have a bank of knowledge to work on already. You have a bank of ideas already, and um, basic foundational knowledge on things like environment, economics, politics, international relations, such like that. Number two is that all speakers are asked to deliver a 7-minute speech, affirming or negating the motion depending on which side they are. So you are given a total of 7 minutes to deliver a speech specifically 7 minutes and then 30 seconds to wrap up your speech. After 7 minutes and 30 seconds, um, you will be deducted points after that. So the pure deadline, the deadline talaga of delivering speech is after 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So after 7 minutes and 30 seconds, stop speaking already. And number three is that depending on the format you are you are given between either 15 or 30 minutes to prepare your speech with your designated partner or partners. So every motion, the debate motion, as I mentioned, will be given on the spot, but you will still be given some time to at least prepare a speech. You'll be given 15 or 30 minutes, depending on the format, which we will be discussing in a moment. So, based on these three rules, are there any questions, clarifications?
Question. So you mentioned how we should have like a bunch of info just stored in our head. Like, would you ever like discuss like what we should keep up with, like things we should read para we're kind of prepared for any debate motion? Like, what are good things to research other than just current news? Oh, current news talaga. Okay.
That's a good question, Kristen. So parang ano, so in terms of matter loading or learning or what should you focus on? What should you prioritize to read upon? My first suggest like there are two ways you could actually do this. Number one is you either first prioritize the things that you are most uncomfortable talking about. So if you are not so sure about international relations, focus on doing international relations. If you're not familiar with economics, focus on economics. So a good thing to start is don't start immediately with very specific topics. Start first with fundamentals. Start first with um, basic understandings, theories about um, the subject area. For example, environment, you will first learn about ecosystems, biotic and abiotic processes, stuff like that, ecology, those basic concepts. And then for economics, maybe an introduction on inflation, monetary policy, prices, supply, demand, such like things. So don't worry if like you feel like you guys will be like left behind, because we will be actually having specific sessions on particular issues. So we will be having like separate issues on international relations, or like a complete session on Philippine politics, on American politics, or like European politics, environment, social movement. So ayun, like, we will be having separate like specific sessions where we just talk about basic foundations of a particular area of debating, like media, social movements, art, culture, pop culture, you name it. This is why it can be a bit like debating can be quite challenging, because you don't know where the next topic is going to pop out of from. Like no matter how well prepared you are, you can't reasonably you can't reasonably read everything. And that's, I think, one reminder you should keep to yourself, that as much as it can feel like you have pressure to read everything, you don't have to read everything. Read only the things that you feel like you should read, or the things that interest you. So that's my second strategy. If you can't read the things that you're unfamiliar with, focus on the things that you are interested in, that might be unfamiliar but it's still interesting to you, because it's important for you to be consistent with learning new things. And you can only build habits if what you're doing is interesting. Don't do something if you're not interested in it. Don't read don't read economics if you know for yourself you absolutely hate economics. If you come across a topic you absolutely hate, um, like you could what we could do is you could contact me, and then I could explain it to you, or contact anyone, or like we could host like sessions together where we could like talk about like like our different specialties. So you don't have to do it all by yourself. You could always ask someone else to help you with these things. So yun. So as much as it feels pressure to know almost everything, like a tiny bit of everything, it comes at the expense of like being a master at something. So ayun, parang, do you prioritize being a jack of all trades, or do you prioritize being very extremely well at a specific like specific thing? So yeah. Flashback to idea like where the topic was social movements, but the motion was about whether the Republican Party should continue supporting Trump. Yeah, pag super specific na, it can be a bit challenging. So, any other questions that people want to raise before we continue? Nine. Nothing? Alright. Okay. So, by this part, medyo it's a bit challenging already, but bear with me. So, in the Philippines, we have two main debate formats. We have the Asian parliamentary format, this one, and we also have the British parliamentary format, this monster of a thing. So let's first talk about the Asian parliamentary format because it's much more simpler. So the Asian parliamentary format is a 1v1 versus one team versus one team, with one team being made out of 3 members. And with the Asian parliamentary format, you are given 30 minutes to prepare. So you might be confused. It says 3 members per team, but there are 4 members on each side. But okay, so for the Asian parliamentary format, reply speakers, this one, government reply, and opposition reply, for both of them, they come from the first 2 speakers. So government reply could only be the person who was speaking as prime minister or deputy prime minister, whereas opposition reply could only be leader of opposition and deputy leader of opposition. So with Asian parliamentary format, it's more clear kung sino yung kalaban ninyo. You're fighting against the team that is directly in front of you. So if your government, yung kalaban mo lang is opposition. When your opposition, your kalaban lang is government. Very simple. So the flow of the debate is, the flow of Asian parliamentary is that first it starts with prime minister, then to leader of opposition, then to deputy prime minister, to deputy leader of opposition, to government whip, opposition whip, then down here to opposition reply, then here to government reply. So you guys might be confused, bakit ganito yung flow ng from opposition whip tapos opposition reply to government reply? Bakit di na lang dapat opposition whip to government reply to opposition reply? The reason why this ganito yung flow niya is to give fairness to government. Because government is the first team to speak. So if prime minister is the first one to speak, government has lesser time to think. That's why opposition reply yung mauuna by the end when you do reply speeches. It's so that it compensates the time where government had to speak first by the end where opposition speaks first then and then government speaks last. So ayun, like the reason why, so it gives that element of fairness in terms of Asian parliamentary. So because government has comparatively lesser time to think and provide their case, it is therefore fair to then at some point give It's therefore fair for opposition to speak first at some point over government. So yeah, it might be a bit confusing at first, but bear with me. So are there? Okay, I'm going to ask again. Are there any questions or like clarifications? Because it might be a bit complicated.
None naman siguro, kuya.
Brian said we're not doing Asian Parliamentary. We'll focus on that later. Actually, I might ask you guys. See, magpapapolo ako mamaya on what you prefer. Okay, let's start then with this monstrosity. British parliamentary is much more complicated. It's 4 teams in one round with 2 members per team. So there are 8 people in total in the debate room. And instead of 30 minutes, in comparison to the Asian parliamentary format, you're only given 15 minutes to prepare. You are given half the time to prepare in British parliamentary. So it's 4 teams in one round. So it's a 1v1v1v1. So all of you are fighting one another. So pag opening government ka, you're fighting against open opposition, closing government, and closing opposition. When you're opening opposition, you're fighting against opening government, and closing opposition. That's why it's an entire monster of its own, because British parliamentary, with Asian parliamentary, you're only fighting against one team. With British parliamentary, you're fighting with 3 other teams to get more points. So how do you win British parliamentary format debate? So we rank it by first, second, third, and fourth. So the first team gets 3 points, second team gets 2 points, the third team gets 1 point, and the last team gets no points, 0 points. So so that's how you score a British parliamentary format. So the flow is, in comparison to Asian parliamentary format, mas intuitive yung flow ng British parliamentary format. It follows the zigzag format where it starts with Prime Minister, then to Leader of Opposition, to Deputy Prime Minister, to Deputy Leader of Opposition, to Member of Government, to Member of Opposition, to Government Whip, and then closing at Opposition Whip. So, ayun. So, is it done yet? No, it's not. So, with British parliamentary format, kakaiba siya because in comparison to Asian parliamentary format, where the way you judge Asian parliamentary format is, it's more straightforward because you're just comparing 2 teams. With British parliamentary format, you're comparing 4 teams all together. That's why it can be a bit harder to judge British parliamentary format because you're judging 4 different teams. Like the comparisons are not as clear. So, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So, I like you guys to focus on the different divisions as well in British parliamentary format. So think of this as quadrants. The top half is what we call the opening debate between opening government and opening opposition. In the British parliamentary format, the opening government and opening opposition are what we call opening houses because they're the first 2 teams who debate the motion. And what is expected from the opening house is they're expected to give intuitive cases. They're expected to provide very broad case lines, very broad argumentations. In comparison to the bottom half of this debate, we call this the closing houses, both closing government and closing opposition. So in the closing house, because they come much more later in the debate and because they have comparatively more time to think about their arguments because there were 4 speakers before them, mas matindi yung mas matindi yung pag-judge sa kanila because we have to take into consideration that they had more time to think Therefore, in the opening house, in the opening debate, it's expected na broad yung discussions nila. But in the closing debate, it's expected na mas narrower, mas specific yung mga argumentations in both closing government and both closing opposition. So yun. So in British parliamentary format, timing is important, strategy is important, because like, are you able at opening houses? Are you able to mauubos din, kaya nyo bang ubusin lahat ng mga relevant na argument para wala nang ma-argue yung closing houses ninyo? Or in pag closing house ka, do you have an innovative argument that could overtake even your the opening debate? So it's all about strategy. It's all about finding the most relevant and the most nuanced argument in the debate. Which is why British parliamentary format, although confusing, it's also the most exciting because it's all about teams, it's all about partnerships, it's all about strategy. So I think I'll ask again because medyo confusing din yung British parliamentary. Are there any questions with British parliamentary? Do you want me to clarify anything or is everything clear naman?
Wait, Kuya
No
Marky.
questions.
Sorry po.
Sige, Kirsten and then Kyle.
Could you expand on how much you can say against your own team, against your own team? Because I know I have a problem where I tend to critique for example, I'm closing government. I have a problem or maybe it's just me. I tend to end up critiquing opening government more than opposition in my team. So while I may have a good argument, I feel like I get deducted points for knifing.
Okay. Sige. That's good. That's good. That's good that you raised that. Okay, actually, I'll add something just to make things. Okay. Oops. Okay. So I can better explain what Kristen is saying. What was Kristen saying? Kristen was talking about, for example, you're in closing government, but the judge deducts you because you criticize opening government more than opening opposition or closing opposition. It's what we call in debating knifing, as in cuchillo, knifing. What it means is that you're attacking your co-bench more than your opposing bench. So this is why British parliamentary is super dynamic because although it's a 1v1v1v1, it's 4 teams in one round, you are still sort of in a subtle partnership with the team directly above you or directly below you. So so vertical, you guys are teams. In the horizontal, you guys are absolute enemies. So opening government and closing government should still have some sense of camaraderie or being still able to support one another. And likewise, the open opposition and closing opposition, they will still also still be buddy buddy. But when you're closing what Kristen is saying is that why are judges deducting me if I critique my opening government more than opening opposition and closing opposition? So we call it knifing because knifing is when you deliberately mention that what your opening said is wrong. You could say that, you could say instead that what opening government said was perhaps, you know, you could phrase it in a way like, as much as we appreciate the contributions from government, from opening government, we feel like at closing government we could substantiate and we could argue that more, or we could explain it more. So you don't directly say opening government is bad. You have to say opening government did an okay job at proving this. But this is why closing government, this is how closing government is going to prove it more, or elaborate on it more, or provide more examples, or make it more clearer. Because in British parliamentary, you are still, even if you're against everyone in the debate, in with the vertical, you are still considered a team. So so when you're in government, opening government and closing government are in it together, and that's the same for opposition. Opening opposition and closing opposition are together, are uh, like on the same team, you will.
So it's like better to say, for example, if you're whipped, I believe that my team did best at explaining this motion rather than say, well, I think that the others did an okay job, but we did way better.
Yeah. That's how you say it. Parang, you, uh, just to avoid judges thinking that you didn't appreciate the teams before you. You could just say, well, we feel like um, opening government was did an okay job at arguing this motion, but we feel like the most relevant or the most important argument came from us at closing government. Parang it has to be subtle. You don't have to parang the difference between knifing and not knifing, between knifing and extending is that in knifing there's a deliberate attempt to dismiss the other team at the same side, whereas in extending you show why your side is different in comparison to their side and to what they argue. You don't necessarily say it's bad, you just say that it's different and explain why that difference matters. Um, did anyone else got confused by that? Or does anyone have a new question that they want to ask? Because it's extremely okay that we spend the rest of the time talking about the formats because it's important to nail it down as early as now. Anyone have any questions? Was I able to answer your question on that first time?
Yes, Bob.
Yeah.
So essentially, just make sure to if you're going to somewhat criticize someone on the same side as you, you have to be like, we appreciate their efforts, but I believe we had the most relevant arguments.
Right. So when you're, for example, in closing government, you say that opening government did a great job, but we feel like the best job in this debate was done by us in closing government because we were able to prove one, two, three. We're able to prove A, B, C, and that was something that opening government didn't prove. Right. Anyone else has any questions, clarifications? So magpapa-poll na ako ngayon. For the next succeeding trainings, British parliamentary format or Asian parliamentary format. So type it in chat if you want to first prioritize British parliamentary format or Asian parliamentary format. So it's abbreviated BP or AP pala. Brian, stop spamming chat. Battle Pass, BPA, BPA, BPA. Because BPA is more fun, and you learn more with British parliamentary in comparison. Because Asian parliamentary is head bashing. It's more. It's like um, the reason why a lot of people like British parliamentary is that if you don't get first, you could get 2 point. Like pag Asian parliamentary, pag talo ka. Because you're only against one person, like one team. Pero pag British parliamentary ka, if you don't get first, you could get second, but you could also get third. Like, kawawa ka na lang pag last ka. Pero like, there's more opportunities to win in British parliamentary than in AP. Where in AP, if if you lose the round, you lose the round. Alrighty, then I guess a lot of people wanted to do DP. Does Filipino debates use Asian? Interesting. So actually right now, there are no debates that use the Filipino language, unfortunately. Which is why actually it's been proposed multiple times, pero like it's ayun, no one really wants to like really hold a debate held in for Filipino because well ayun, there's no avenue or market about it right now, which is which is quite unfortunate because it would definitely be more fun and be more accessible to a lot of people because ayun, parang as early as now, I'm going to also tell you that debating can be very elitist, especially when you go into competitions and puro private schools yung nakikita ninyo, which is rather unfortunate. That's why I keep my services free because I don't want to contribute to the elitism and debating. I wanted to keep it accessible. Yes, and they also look down on public schools, unfortunately, which is quite sad. Alright, anything else? Any questions before we move on? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So, okay, let's actually prepare kung speaker roles was for Asian parliamentary format, but it also works the same, so it's fine. So we have what we call the first speakers. It's Prime Minister and Leader of Opposition. And they provide the groundwork for the rest of the team. So as expected, since you'll be the first ones talking in the debate, you're expected to have a good groundwork and base knowledge of what the debate is about. So that's why it's important for first speakers to have a good setup in the debate. And the setup meaning it's by a good setup meaning that you are able to identify who is involved in the debate, what is the debate about, when is the debate happening, where is it happening, like why is it an issue, how could we solve it. The first two speakers deal with talking about those issues. They provide the groundwork and base understanding of what the motion is about. So, for example, when you're given a motion in the Philippines, for example, this house would shift into federalism, you would, the prime minister and the leader of opposition would be expected to have a base knowledge and a base understanding of what Philippine politics looks like, what like what is the current system, what are problems with the current system, why are there calls to shift towards a federalist system. Uh, okay, let me make a more friendly example. Um, this house would go vegan. For government, they would uh, for both first speakers, you would ask yourselves, why why are people shifting to becoming vegan, or why are people shifting to a diet of just eating plants, or like removing dairy in their entire diets. So what are the benefits of having a vegan diet? Why is it a growing movement? So it's a growing movement because um, a lot of people are critiquing how the meat industry is one of the major pollutants in the entire world. So that's why a lot of people are shifting to being vegan. So those kinds of characterizations or understandings about the debate is something you expect from a first speaker. So for both first speakers, they have specific things that specific functions. So for Prime Minister, you're expected to provide definitions for important terms in the debate. And as much as possible, you should be only the one who should be defining the important terms in the debate. For example, in a debate about this house would go vegan, you have to define what does being vegan mean? What does what diet does what can you eat? What can you not eat when you're vegan? And so yeah, so or for example, this house as the feminist movement would support female politicians no matter what platform they have. As prime minister, you have to define what is the feminist movement. What is the goal of the feminist movement? And so yeah, so you have to provide basic definitions, basic fair definitions about important terms in the debate. As for the leader of opposition, you provide what we call a clash. And a clash is a point of disagreement between both government and opposition, which shows why opposition is going against what government is saying. So, for the debate about this house would go vegan, the clash for opposition would be at opposition, we believe that we shouldn't go vegan. That's simple. It's simple as that. So the clash is a very clear direction as to how the side of opposition is different from that of government. So government is affirming, opposition is negating. So it's important to see on what on what terms are they disagreeing. Wait, any questions naman with first speakers? Any questions or clarifications? Now is your time because...
Hello?
Sige, go Kyle.
None so far naman, kuya.
Okay. Anyone else? Does anyone have any questions?
Wait, maybe something. How do you like? How does it work being a prime minister when you know like nothing about the motion?
Very good question. So, how do you prime minister if you have no idea about the motion? So, for example, what's a good motion that might throw people off? This house would give preparations for between the genocide. This house as the United Nations would give reparations for the ethnocide that happened in Tunisia between the Hutus and the Tutsis. Parang, huh? You don't know, like parang what? No, parang what ethnocide of Hutus and Tutsis? Parang you don't know anything. Parang, of course you know, Brad, because you're a nerd. But what can you do? So parang number one is I know it's crazy advice, pero somehow it clicked to me at some point in my debating career. Pero ang sabi ng debate coach ko, nung first debate coach ko, you never not know anything. May mapipiga ka somewhere. So for example, United Nations. That's a good start. What do you know the United Nations does? What do you know what does what do you know like what do they do? The United Nations does peace activities. They do collaborations between different nation states. So, yun. Uh, Dan, I think your mic is open. Can you mute? Okay, thank you. So ayun, so far, ayun. So, ayun, like try to pull as much as you can. So, uh, ayun, so yun, try to hugot as much as you can. Number two, if wala ka talagang maisip, um, no, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say lie, but I do not, I condone you from lying. Do not lie just to argue something. Sige, Brad.
Parang pag sa mga for the topics na hindi mo alam na ganun ka-specific, instead of saying na the UN instead of giving arguments na prove why the UN specifically should fund the Hutu and the Tutsi, na parang you can move forward na the UN should do it with any victims of genocide. Instead of being specifically the Hutu and Tutsi, if you don't know about the situation, just say the United Nations should give reparations to victims of genocide, tapos yun yung i-argue mo. Or pag opposition ka, pwede mo sabihin na if you're not familiar with the Hutu and Tutsi, if you're opposition, the UN specifically should not give reparations for victims of genocide. Yung other organizations should do that.
Thanks, Brad. That's super helpful. Thank you for pulling me out of the rut kasi medyo mental block ako. So yun, if you can't, as Brad mentioned, if you have a particular hard time with a specific issue, you could zoom out and debate something broader. So if you can't debate genocide specifically in Tunisia between Hutus and Tutsis, you can talk about genocide in general. Like, why is it fair for the United Nations to give reparations and to give reparations, meaning abuloy, or like financial compensation for victims of genocide, of people getting killed. So if you can't debate something very specific, debate something very broad. Then it's a good advice. Okay? Anyone else has any questions? We might have to end with the next slide. Any questions? None? Okay. So for second speakers are what we call deputies, Deputy Prime Minister and Deputy Leader of Opposition. So for both of them, they rebut the arguments from the previous speakers. So for Deputy Prime Minister, they rebut Leader of Opposition. For Deputy Leader of Opposition, they could rebut both Deputy Prime Minister and Prime Minister. So since you're second speaker, you're expected to extend the case of your first speaker. So extending means you're building on the already previously mentioned cases by your prime minister and your leader of opposition. So, for example, in the debate about this house would ban smoking, and prime minister said that we should ban smoking because it causes harm. Again, it causes harm to those who are smoking and is a health concern. As Deputy Prime Minister, you could extend it by saying it is not only harmful to the person who is smoking, but it is also harmful for the people around that person. So it causes third party harm by as to how other people could inhale the smoke that you're smoking because you can't contain where smoke goes. Like, for example, there are many examples where nagko-commute tayo, nalalanghap natin yung usok coming from the cigarettes from someone else, but we're not smoking. Pero tayo nakakaamoy nun. So that's still harmful to us. So that's why it's okay to regulate smoking. Ganon. So that's how you extend the case of the first speaker. It's you build on the provide new argumentation. So you provide new arguments. So for example, for the same debate motion on this House would ban smoking, Deputy Prime Minister could also say that we should ban we should ban smoking because it is an economic problem as well. How is it an economic problem? Because of how cigarettes are economic investments as well, and usually lead to cases of addiction to the point where addicts would prioritize curbing their addiction over securing their own economic needs. For example, for smokers, they would prioritize buying cigarettes over buying food for their families, for example. So that could be a new argument for that case. But of course, um, so that's a new layer of argumentation. But then, as I mentioned, deputy leader of opposition could rebut argumentation. So for example, it's not true that pag pag cigarette smoker, you don't care about your family members. That's absolutely not true. And uh, what about cases of moderate smoking? Do we mean that we have to ban smoking in all regards? So maybe opposition could say instead of banning smoking, we could just regulate smoking instead. So instead of banning smoking everywhere, maybe you could just ban it in public spaces and allow it in private spaces, something like that. So for second speakers, you are asked to rebut, challenge arguments from the opposing side, extend cases of your first speakers, and then provide new argumentations from your first speaker, right? I guess we could end on that slide, but before that, are there any questions for this particular slide? I think deputies are the most simple role to understand, as far as I'm concerned. Nope. Okay. Everyone good?
No, I have come up with something. I'm sorry.
Nagulat ako. Okay, go first.
Okay, so what if like I said earlier, the problem with not knowing much about the motion. What if you struggle with I don't know. What if you end up just repeating what your partner said?
Okay. So here's the thing. Lazy judges would say that you repeated the same thing from your partner. I say that unless you repeated word per word what they said, there is bound to be something that you added there. But in the case, but in the case where you do feel like, okay, you personally feel like like you weren't able to add anything new to what your partner said. Like there are a lot of things you could explore. For one example, you could provide new examples, like, um, like for example, smoking in my or smoking in uh, cases of smoking. Like cases of smoking where people around them were the people who developed complications instead of the person who was smoking themselves, which actually happens. So you can establish how harm is is universal to everyone within the same room as a smoker, or something like that. So yeah, like um, unless you repeat everything word per word, yeah, like it's bound that you added something new and you provide a new contribution to what your partner said.
Alright, thank you.
If you're having a hard time, introduce a new example, introduce new actors. Who's important in a um, debate about smoking. We could address it as education or public health. We could also address it as mental health, or we could also address it as family structures. We could also address it to okay, so like there are definitely multiple perspectives you can attack an argument. Ayun, never ka mauubusan with an argument. I think it's hard to exhaust like it's hard to say that walang argument anywhere. Any last questions before we formally conclude?
None naman.
Sige. Okay. Just as a means of assessment. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you understand about the lecture today? With 1 being I did not understand I did not understand anything. To 10 to I understand absolutely everything. Just to because yeah, this is also like it's my personal grade because it's an entirely new concept. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like as long as it's around a 6 or a 7, I'm okay with that. I'm okay if you guys say 6 or 7. 6 above. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9, 9, 8, 7. Everyone else? 8. Mhm. 6. Okay. You definitely take more time with discussing it. 9. Okay, good. I guess that's why I think I really want to push the debate round next week because it's much more mas maintindihan niyo siya when you see it in person than me talking about it because it's so weird. It's yeah, it's a debate thing. Like it's more like former gabs of members back me up. It's so mas maintindihan ninyo yun once you start debating. Like at this moment, yeah, I guess at this moment it just feels like I would understand if you guys feel na medyo abstract pa siya na parang why do we need to understand all these complicated rules and like flow and diagrams and stuff and what people do but once we siguro like in 1 or 2 months from now mag-gets na siya. Alright? Okay. Good. So 6 nines, no complete tens, which is completely fine because like it's a new topic. And also because I do remember that the former members didn't have enough exposure to Asians, right? We didn't have any training on Asian parliamentary format. Catedral, diba? Yeah, we did that last year. We didn't, which was unfortunate. Anyways, so yep. I guess that formally concludes today's lecture. I like thank you guys for pushing it through, even though it's medyo headache siya. Pero I'm glad that a lot of you somehow like medyo nagigets siya, even like if it's a bit complicated. Anyways, uh, are there any questions or if you guys want to stay for chica or something, whatever that is.
I must stay.
Na, yung chikahan, nag-stay sa chika. Stay tsaka debate, guys. I'm not sure if like Kai, like, I love your enthusiasm, James, but one debate round is 1.5 hour minimum. So you really like one session will be one debate round because it's that long. Because 7 minutes times for British parliamentary, 7 times 8, for example. Oh my god, not me not knowing 7 times 8. 56. Jesus Christ. 56 plus 15 minutes of prep time. That's 1 hour and 10 minutes already. Plus 10 minutes of deliberation by adjuncts. That's 1 hour and 20 minutes. Plus 10 minutes of a judge giving you feedback and comments. Another 10 minutes. Plus 15 minutes if you're asking for personal comments. So that's 1 hour and 45 minutes optimistically. Ano pa topic next debate? Okay, actually let's decide now what should be the topic for next debate. So you guys have para may time kayo mag-prepare. Do you guys want to start with
Environment na lang.
environment? Pwede naman. Do you guys want to start with an easy motion or a hard motion?
Hard.
Easy. Sabi ni Kirsten. Everyone else?
It's been so long.
Easy. Easy na muna, bro. Just go. I know you're medium easy to argue, but deal. Easy. Sige. I know atat ka na mag-debate, bro. Curb your horses. We're with a lot of we have a lot of new members, so we couldn't expect everyone to be on the same Eminem level of rapping debate as you.
Question, sorry. Another question. How are
Okay,
we
go.
deciding who's like speaking? Because I know it's like 8 people per debate, and we have like a lot of new people who are active now. Para everyone can,
Right. Hmm. I was actually thinking that if we're going to push through with British parliamentary, that I give you the topic in advance for the first few debate rounds because you'll be needing time to talk with your partner first. Like, I want you first to have a good grasp of debating. Like, let's start first with you guys being able to debate research topics. Then we start to transition into debating things where you don't have any material. You didn't have the chance to do research. So let's start first with baby steps. And then we go to like more advanced stuff. That's so climate change is the greatest threat facing humanity today. I agree. Not climate change, corrupt politicians, like worldwide. Anyways, okay, for the theme of the theme of the debate round next week. Okay, let's go with Brow's suggestion. We're gonna talk about environment. So tomorrow or like tonight, expect me to send you a list of topics to research about, and I'll give you a debate motion. Ano, I'll give you a debate motion to debate. The debate motion to debate. I'll give you a set of debate motions. And then bahala na kayo mag-research on it. And then by Monday night, ipa-partner up ko na kayo. I'll first ask volunteers if there's anyone who wants to debate. If there's going to be anyone who's going to volunteer to debate next Saturday, great.
What
If wala,
topic?
environment nga. Kaya ang kulit. Char. Environment. So, think of sustainability, green energy, wind power, geothermal energy, what else? Ecosystems, water pollution, Pasig River. Yeah, I think I'll make a motion about Pasig River. Read up on Pasig River. I'm serious. Read up about Pasig River right now. Parang pang
Paano
science
tayo
debate.
magbubuo ng mga pairs?
Should we pair up right now?
Yeah, para makapag-team up and then makapag-collaborate, ganun.
Alright, sige. Fine. Who wants to volunteer to debate? Then, Brian, Chris, Kristen, Kristen, Sean, James. Okay. Two more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Two more people. If wala-
British, di ba, kuya?
British. Yeah, British Parliamentary. If there aren't any other people, natawag na ako ngayon. Or if wala talagang comfortable. Oh, Brad said your other birthday. Yay! Okay, last one. Last one. Anyone? Now is your chance to debate. We are called Debate Society after all. So at some point, you have to debate. Wala. One last person. One last person. Kasi kung wala, sige kayo. Ako yung magde-debate. God
Ay.
mode. God mode agad. Challenger mode na agad na parang. Gulat na lang. Okay. No, I want someone to volunteer. Volunteer. Sige kayo. I'm going to debate talaga. Let me see the pool of people in this group chat right now. Anyone? Someone? Yes, the pool of victors for the 75th Hunger Game. If I change the motion into something more fun, will you guys agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wait. I actually had a fun debate, fun pop culture debate prepared sana for the slides kanina, but I wasn't able to show. Wait. The canvas loading again. Bear with. Sige. I'm going to show you the motions and then kayo bahala kung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 2 medyo serious motions and then there are 3 not so serious motions. Oops. Wait, let me present it. Alright. The first motion is this house regrets the narrative of resilience during natural disasters. Second, this house would ban treatments that claim to cure homosexuality. And then the more not so serious motions. Third motion, pop culture. In the context of the Harry Potter series, this house would no longer sort students in Hogwarts. Therefore, no one can sort to Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. Second, cutie patootie motion. This house, as a competitive and socially conscious trainer, would choose not to participate in Pokemon battles. So, you are debating as a competitive and socially conscious Pokemon trainer, and you would choose not to have your Pokemon engage in battles. And lastly, the third pop culture motion is this house regrets Netflix remaking cartoon series but for adult audiences like Avatar, Powerpuff Girls, Riverdale. Right? All of them are good. Which motion are you gravitating towards to? James likes that. James likes the third one.
Harry
The Harry
Potter thing.
Potter. Okay, let's debate this one. Does anyone now want to debate now that Harry Potter is the topic? Or does it not change anything? Does anyone want to debate? Debate Harry Potter. Harry Potter. You don't want to. Shut up, Greta. Bayan haters. Okay, fine. I'm going to debate then, since no one is there.
Oh no.
Prepare. all, all seven, what, all 6 of you,
The end game is here.
all 6 who is not my partner, prepare to get your asses whooped.
Kuya Marky want to be partners.
Hindi, we're
I
doing
wanna
Mercy.
be partners
Mercy.
with Kuya.
We're doing a
Dapat
randomized.
magkahiwalay si Kuya Marky and si Kuya Brian.
Oh, actually, pwede yun, pwede yun.
Ang daya naman nun kayong dalawa.
I could be an entire team. Hindi, kasi 7 na tayo eh. We have to like, we have to... Ayan. Wala kasing, ano, ayan. And I want, kapag, who is the edge? Like, let's not go into edging muna. It's more of like, yeah, collective edging, and then like, it's more just to showcase what the debate would look like, what the flow of the debate should look like. The wheel isn't slow. It's just that it's just lagging because of the internet. But I haven't pressed it yet. All right. So our first. Okay, I pressed the button right away. Ah, ah, ah. Brad. Brad, so you're at opening government, and then your partner is. Let's tingnan ako yung partner. Kristen! Okay, so Kristen, you're in opening government with Brad. Someone should go.
Opening government with who?
Brad and alrighty. Next at opening opposition, we have Zane. Hooray. Okay.
Kuya Marky.
Paodin
I
na
just
po.
noticed.
Ano?
Kuya Marky, I just noticed na parang nilagay lang namin yung names namin sa Goblet of Fire.
Yes.
Literally. Literally.
This is the ceremony.
Yeah.
Who put your name in the government? Oh. Well, I guess Zane will be spared. So I'm partnering with Zane at opening opposition.
Oh no!
We'll get
So-
absolutely wrecked.
Closing government, we have Press Edric. Woo! Right. And then the last person to be raffled off is Kaya.
Uh-oh.
So-
Uh-oh.
Which means that closing opposition is James and that,
Two of my
Gusto niyo pa-
friends.
So okay, so that's with that out of the way. Copy that. Alrighty, any questions for the debate proper? Okay, just to make everything fair, you have a lifeline. I'll give everyone here a lifeline. So for Brian Kirsten, Brian Cedric and Kyle, James and Sean, you could contact me to ask for advice on arguments. Fine, edi OG, kayo na bahala. So CG and closing government and closing opposition, you have a lifeline. OG, bahala na kayo.
Kuya Marky, please.
Wala, Brad said it himself, no lifeline. Ew, okay. Panindigan mo yun.
What? What? Wait. No lifeline for us?
For Braille, for
Oh,
Braille.
good, good, good.
So for closing government, Braille, Cedric, and Kyle, and closing opposition, James and Sean. If you have any questions with the debate, you can message me anytime. For Brad and Kristen, good luck na lang sa inyo next week. Anyways, that is all. Any questions? Ano po ulit lifeline? You could message me anytime to ask about questions or about the debate. So how to like how could you improve phrasing on argument more, or um, or like what arguments are strategic or not, how to better improve your structure. I'll be here to support you guys, especially since for closing government and closing opposition, this is your first time debating. So you'll be, I'll be here to help you guys. Anyways, OG and opening government and opening opposition does not happen. Like Zayn, I know he's competent. Brad and Kristen, I know you're competent as well. It's more for the babies, the new members. Anyways, any last questions or comments, concerns before we wrap up?
Anong side yung i-defend namin?
For you, you guys are, you're partnered with Brian Center and you are in closing government. So you are in support for ano, not sorting the students in Hogwarts. Yes, or like, is that clear naman?
Ulit-ulit, kuya, parang medyo na-confuse ako.
Okay, let me send the debate motion. The debate motion is in the context of the Harry Potter series. This house would no longer sort students in Hogwarts. So the debate is about we're going to stop sorting out students between the four houses, between Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff. For both opening government and closing government, that's you guys, you're going to defend as to why we should stop categorizing students according to these four houses. For opening opposition and closing opposition, we have to prove why we still have to continue on categorizing them according to those four houses. Okay? Yes, opposition will disagree, and then government agrees. If there aren't any questions, we could end right here. Hi guys, that is all. Thank you for coming to this session for this very um, for the introduction of debating. So it's going to be like from here on onwards, it's going to be definitely more challenging, but it's definitely we're still going to make sure that the episode is still going to be fun, wholesome, chaotic, stuff like that. And yes, it's in theme with our Halloween party next weekend. So Harry Potter for a Halloween themed session. Alright, with that, thank you guys for coming for today's session. You can leave now and you can log out and you can log out and hopefully you could rest. Ingon.